Namaste and good morning, everyone. Let's start the class with some prayers. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Om Bhur Bhavaswaha, Tatsavitra Varenayam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Diyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Asto ma sadgamya, tamso ma jyotirgamya, mrityurma amritam gamya. Om sahna bhavatu sahna bhunaktu saviryam karvavai. Tejasvi navaditamastu ma vidveshavai. Om shanti 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 om. So Mundak Upanishad, verse number 8, that's where we ended our last week's class. This great Rishi is telling us that when he has seen both the higher and the lower, the knot of his heart becomes untied. All doubts are solved. All his karmas are consumed. So, because sometimes we wonder, when we have a realization who we are, what really happens after that? We are not ignorant anymore now. Because ignorance is the first knot of the heart. Doubts are removed because you have seen it clearly. You have experienced it, realized it. There's no room for any doubts. And if there's no ignorance, there's no desires either. Even when we are going to sleep, we have a desire to sleep. Once we are sleeping, is there any desire to sleep? No. The same thing happens here too. So that's why beautifully he said, when you have seen both the higher and the lower, all the knots of the hearts, they become untied. Ignorance, desires, and even karma. Karma. I have to do this. I haven't done enough. Is it good? Is it bad? You just stay in the moment and do what needs to be done and stay absorbed in that ultimate. And that's what it means that all his karmas are consumed. The sanchit karma, they have been consumed. No doubts left. So it's not that the place we are in right now, like an ignorant, lot of desires, lot of agitations, and that place where he is talking about, there are in-between stages also. As we progress on this path, we see some of these qualities in our personality. When we see the material desires are getting lesser and lesser, that means there is a progress. When we see that doubts, no more doubts or less doubts, answers come to us through intuition or through gurus, that means progress is there. When we are not attached to the fruits of the actions, that means progress is there. So from these verses, we should judge our own progress, not somebody else. So let's look at verse number 9 now. Hiranname pare koshe virajam brahm nishkalam tat shubhram jyoti sham jyoti tat yat atam vida vidu. Hiranname, golden. Pare koshe, innermost sheath in gross body. Pare, the innermost. Virajam, stainless. Brahma, nishkalam, indivisible. Nishkalam, something which cannot be divided. Tat means that, Shubhram means pure, Jyoti Sham, of all lights. Jyoti, light. Tat means that, Yat means which, Atam Vida, knowers of the Atma. Vidu, no. The stainless, the indivisible Brahma, the pure, the light of all lights, is in the innermost sheath of a golden hue. It's a golden color. That is what the knowers of the Atma know. That means the people who have seen it, experienced it, realized it, that's what they say. So this is almost like a conclusion of this section. And next two verses also, we say, glorious repetition, deliberate and purposeful, to emphasize the meaning which already has been explained in the earlier verses. So nothing new here, he's just repeating it for us. So the golden sheath, the highest. We have already seen that the human personality, or the Atma, is enveloped by this personality. This personality has the circles of the matters, which is called koshas also. We are all familiar with those. So the attempt of the seeker is to withdraw his attention entirely inward, piercing through these outer layers and going deep within. So when a seeker has renounced his attachment to the body, the prana, the mind, the intellect, so spiritually he is transcending them all. And there is an unearthly, blissful, and divinely peaceful state of the mind. So body feels perfectly comfortable. Pran, they are moving very nicely. Mind is fully restful. Intellect doesn't have any doubts. So then after that comes the bliss sheath. But bliss sheath is also, sure it's called a bliss sheath, because there's no pain in that sheath. But that's called a negative happiness. No pain is not joy. No agitation is not peace. So this bliss sheath is considered golden because it's nearest to the awareness, the seat of all consciousness. So the sheath is considered the highest or the subtlest because it is the innermost realm which is reached while transcending both the mind and the intellect. It is this kosh that the great seeker rediscovers himself to be nothing other than pure consciousness. Because through that, when we pass that also, you feel the divine. And that is called the stainless. So the truth is without stains. Because stains are only in the mind and the intellect of the body. The truth doesn't have any stain. So the life force that runs through every name and form is one and the same. This is what he's trying to tell us. That Brahm is indivisible. So bliss sheath, still we can come out of it and we can go into it. But there's no divisions in the Brahm. It is the same in all of us. It is one. And now he's describing that for us. Na tatra surya bhati, na chandra tarakam, na ima vidyuta bhanti, kuta agni, tam eva bhantam anubhati sarvam, tasya bhasa sarvam idam vibhati. No means not, tatra means there, Surya, sun. Bhati, shines. Na Chandra Tarakam. Na means Nar, Chandra means moon, Tarakam, stars. Common Hindi word for stars is Tara, Tarakam. Na Ima, not these. Vidyuta, lightnings. Bhanti, shines. Kutaha, where? Agni, fire. Tam means him, Ev alone, Bhantam, who shines. Anubhati shines after. Sarvam all. Tasya his bhasaha light. Sarvam all. Idam this. That means this world. Vibhati illuminated. There the sun does not shine, nor the moon, nor the stars. These lightnings also do not shine. How can these earthly fire them? Verily, everything shines after him who shines. This whole world is illumined with the light. A lot of people, they recite or chant this mantra holding the arti lamp in their hand, or arti thali. So that means the devotee is extremely worshipful. With that worshipful attitude, he is showing a tiny speck of a flame to the Lord as light. In the temple priests, you often see that. He is reminding himself of the glorious seat of all illuminations. He says that pure consciousness, it's everywhere. And sun doesn't need to shine it. We need the sun to shine the matter. But ultimately, the God or the consciousness or the Atma, it is the illuminator for everything. So sun is not there, moon is not there, fire is not there, but shine is still there. Because the source of illumination is God. So he's trying to bring our mind to the brilliance of God's light. Sunlight is like a matchstick, like compared with the sunlight. Compared with the Atma, the all-illuminating principle, even the sun, the light giver in the world itself cannot shine. So nothing compared to that. So if neither the sun, nor the moon, nor the stars shine there, the devotee is reminded of the utter futility in his showing a tiny piece of light to the Lord. So showing the light is just like a reminding himself that, hey, God, you are everywhere. I'm just showing you this little light. How could this fire bring the shine? So over here, this mantra, through this mantra, the Rishi has taken the examples of the objects, luminous in the physical sense. But then he says the whole process of knowing is embedded in this mantra. All objects become available for our knowledge when we live by the light of the Atma. Only with the help of the God we can understand this is sun, this is moon, these are stars, this is fire. Without this, nothing can be known. Brahm ev idam amritam purastat, brahm paschat, brahm dakshinat cha uttaren, adha cha udharvam cha prasitam, brahm ev idam vishvam idam varishtam. Brahm ev means verily, idam this. Amritam immortal. Purastat in front. Paschat at the back. Dakshinat on the right. Uttarain on the left. Adha below. Udharvam above. Prasritam everywhere. Ev means verily, idam means this, Vishwam world, idam this, Varishtam supreme. Verily, all this is the immortal Brahma. Above, below, in front, at the back, on the right, on the left, everywhere. All this world is indeed the supreme Brahma. If somebody asks you, where is it written that God is everywhere? Recite this mantra. It's written in the Upanishad. So this is the concluding section. So in a very powerful language, he is saying that the ultimate cause for this world of objects, feelings, and thoughts is the Brahma alone. See, just like in a mud pot, mud is on the top, mud is at the bottom. On the right, mud, on the left, mud. In short, mud pot is nothing but mud. From mud it came, in mud it stays, and into the mud it goes back when you destroy it. Mud is the cause and its effect. The pot can be nothing but the mud. The same way, Brahm, the cause of the world, is said to be the all-pervading, homogeneous truth. It's not that it's more here and less there. It's homogeneous truth in all the perceived things of the world. Very clearly, very scientifically, he explained it to us through these mantras. Now we're going to start chapter 3, section 1. And this is a story which we are familiar with from other Upanishads also, about two birds. But often people get very confused about these two birds. So let's try to understand. Dva suparnaha sa yujaha sakhaya sa manam vriksham parishvasutajate tayo anyaha piplam swaduvati anya abhichakshiti anashnana. Dva means two, suparna, birds. Sa yuja, close friends. Sa yuja sakhaya. Sakhaya means friends. So close friends. Sa manam, the same. Vriksham, tree. Parish swajate, perch on. Tayo, among the two. Anya, one. Piplam, fruit. Swadu ati, eat with relish. Anya, the other. Abhichakshiti, looks on. Anashnan, without eating. Two birds bound one to other in close friendship. Perch on the same tree. One of them eats the fruits of the tree with relish, while the other looks on without eating. So, again, quite famous mantra, but we got to understand it properly. So, a lot of people get into the controversy of understanding this mantra. So, the exact significance of the terms Jivatma and Paramatma is given over here. So two birds living in great friendship upon the same tree. One is the ego actually, and the other one is the divine spark of life in us. So the limited egocentric identifying itself with the mind and the body, he wants to enjoy the fruits. Sure, there's a suffering also, sometimes suffering, sometimes enjoyment. So the ego suffers joys and sorrows of life, just like the fruits of the tree. Sometimes they are bitter and sometimes they are sweet. So the ego has all the appointments and disappointments of life. All the success and the failures belong to the ego, not to the Atma. Atma, the divine spark of life, neither performs any action nor has the vanity that it is the enjoyer or the sufferer. It's only watching, it's a watcher. It's almost like a sun in the sky, never trembles. Sometimes we think that the reflection of the sun or the moon, the water is trembling and we think sun or the moon, they are trembling. So the same way the agitations of the mind cause the sense of agitation in the ego, through the ego we think we are suffering, or we are agitated, or we are happy. We have gotten so used to identifying ourselves with this ego, we delude ourselves to be agitated when the ego reflection formed in the mind is agitated. This agitation in the ego reflection is caused by the agitation in the very thought flow, the mind. So the two birds, the real I and the false I, you can call it, they are living on the same tree. And what is the tree? This body. The ego in its delusions goes on pecking at the hanging fruits and comes to suffer joy or sorrow. When there's a joy, feels satisfied. Sometimes even feels gloated. And when it's in sorrowful mood, it feels dissatisfied. According to the tastes of the fruits pecked. Because some fruits are ripe, some are unripe. Ripe ones are sweet, unripe are sour. But the other bird, which is mentioning over here, remains undisturbed, fully tranquil, merely goes on witnessing the joys and the sorrows of the other bird. Just remember, these fruits are the karmic fruits, the reactions of our own past actions. An outer circumstance or an inner mental attitude cannot in itself give us either joy or sorrow unless we get deluded and attached to it. So the witnessing bird is living in the same tree, does not suffer because it has no desire to taste the hanging fruits. And it does not entertain any hope to gain happiness from those fruits. It goes on witnessing only. But the sad part is we have never paid attention to this witnessing bird. We are so involved in our body, or even the things outside of the body, We are more involved in the other people's lives that we forget that we are this witnessing bird always, but we have ignored it. So to remain as a pure witness, rooted in our own real nature, as all perfect, all blissful, pure consciousness, is to transcend all pains, limitations, and suffering. We want to let go of all the sufferings. We don't want to be painful and sorrowful, but we are going the wrong way about it. We keep on identifying ourselves with the changing finite, and we become the sorrowing bird. Identifying ourselves with our eternal nature, if we rediscover, if we want to rediscover the peace and dignity of the witnessing bird, this is the sadhana we need to do. We'll see that in the next mantra, it is more clearly brought out by this saint. Verse number 2 of this section. Samane vrikshe purushaha nimagnaha anishya shochati muhyamana jushtam yada pashyati anyam isham asye mehimanam iti vit shokaha. Samane, in the same. Vrikshe, tree. Purusha, nimagnaha, is sunk. Anishyaha, by ignorance. Shochati, grieves. Muhyamana, being deluded. Jushtam, worshipful. Yada means when, pashyati, sees, anyam, the other, isham, the Lord. Asya, his, mahimanam, his glory. Iti means thus, vit shokaha, free from dejection. Seated on the self same tree. One of them, the ego, sunk in ignorance and deluded, grieves his impotence. But when he sees the other, the Lord, the worshipful, and also his glory, he becomes free from dejection. So this month really throws a flood of light on the previous one. So when we study these two together, it's obvious to us what this great Rishi is trying to tell us. So ego is the supreme awareness expressed through the mental agitations and the intellectual throbbing in us. It has come to exist due to its own ignorance of its real nature. Identifying itself with the equipments, it entertains the desires, strives to fulfill them in the outer world. Is it the destiny of the ego to suffer eternally in its own delusion? This mantra is giving us the answer most pointedly. That this game of ignorance is only a temporary. Any given moment we can end this game. And we can reach the state of peace and perfection by merely discovering our own real nature. How? By recognizing that we are the witnessing bird. We are not just this perching bird. We are the witnessing bird. The various false values, wrong notions, attachments, lust, greed, passions, fears, despairs, they are all only in the ego. Because we have forgotten about our real nature. So the scripture says, when he sees the other, the Lord, and realizes his glory, he becomes free from dejection. It's as simple as that. We have forgotten who we are. These great rishis, they are just trying to wake us up, bring our attention to this reality. They say all this fear and the vanities and the dejections, they'll all go away when you know who you are. Yada pashyaha pashyate rukmvarnam kartaram isham purusham brahm yonim tada vidvan punya pape viduye niranjanaha paramam samyam upatihi. Yada means when, pashya, seer, pashyate, realizes, rukmvarnam, self-effulgent, kartaram, maker, isham, the ruler, purusham, the soul, brahm yonim, source of the creator. Tada means then, vidwan, the wise one, punya papehe, merits and demerits. So all deeds of merit and demerit, pap and punya, vidhuye, shaking off. Niranjanaha, stainless, paramam, supreme, samyam, state of equanimity, upatihi, attains. When the seer realizes the self-effulgent being, ruler, maker, and source of the creator, even then that wise one, shaking of all the deeds of merits and demerits, pap and punya, becomes stainless, attains the supreme state of equanimity. So a seeker during his seeking, sure, is a deluded ego, striving hard to discover for himself the reality behind the unreal, truth among the false. But we all know that every seeker of truth seeking is the seer of the tomorrow. Okay? Just like every student stays on the path, goes to the college or school or university, keeps on working hard, will ultimately have a degree in his hand. The same way for us aspirants on this path also. Through meditation, through our sadhana, successfully and completely, we learn to withdraw our entire attention from the worldly sense objects and move towards the inner world. And sooner or later, we'll discover that we are nothing but Paramatma. It is a job of the seeker to make use of this energy. Because if we are not running here and there in the outer world, saving that time and energy, we can use that energy to discover ourselves, the truth which lies within ourselves. So that's what a sadhak does. Less time running around outside, more time traveling within. We got to redeem ourselves from our preoccupation with the world. Outside also and inside also. Sometimes inside also we just waste time thinking about the world. We got to take this job seriously if we want to really know ourselves. A seeker observing within at this moment discovers for himself that this already I know. I'm familiar with this. There is a positive awareness which is making it possible for the seeker to be conscious of the very state of peacefulness. So to a seeker, the mental peace becomes a serene object of contemplation. And at this moment, he becomes aware of the awareness itself. So that's why the scripture says, when such a diligent and a fortunate seeker successfully rediscovers himself to be nothing but the all-pervading, the light of the lights, the pure awareness, which is the reality, the source of light behind all the names, all the forms. And that's how the mental agitation ends. The seeker reaches a state of absolute. He says it's an unshakable equanimity. No circumstances in the world can upset him. Under all conditions, the seeker becomes a serene and mighty lighthouse of the wisdom and peace. And this seeker is sending out the messages of hope and serenity to those who are still struggling on this rough and stormy sea of the egoistic life. For such a person, in his realization of his own supreme dignity, no more cravings, no more merits to gain, and does not get upset with any kind of a demerit either. Because pap and the punya, they are all qualities of the mind. They are just the toys of the past for this seeker now. But we have to do our part though. We got to just recognize with that bird who's just watching. Spend some time every day. Make a firm commitment that every day I want to get to know who that bird is in me, who's just watching only. Instead of just keep on strengthening the bird which is eating the fruits and sometimes going through the sorrow and wishing for the happiness here and there. Next week, we'll start with verse number 4 and see what else he's telling us. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Visheshyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you very much.